Well, good morning, my fellow Zenites. Did you check your Pzen balance with your coffee this morning? So mass adoption is coming to DeFi and Pzen, but why? What is the catalyst that is going to cause the centralized money to flow into DeFi? Well, clearly the issues in America are surrounding the collapse of FTX. And this is going to be the catalyst for some major legislation to try to be put through in Capitol Hill. And amongst all the doom and gloom, there are some very interesting bright spots for decentralized finance. And let me just highlight what they are. It's very likely that what they're going to try and do is create legislation which is going to control the centralized exchanges. And basically what they might say is they might come out and say, well, look, all these 22,000 coins and tokens that are out there are actually all unregistered securities. And if you want to sell unregistered securities, you yourself are then going to be subject to being a licensed security dealer. And so all these exchanges, in order to continue, will have to actually register as security brokers with all that entails. Then comes the regulation of cryptocurrency. That is another minefield altogether. But that's what we're going to see first of all. We're going to see the centralized exchanges being highly regulated, and they may not be able to transact. However, when we talk about decentralized finance, that's a completely different kettle of fish, because you can't cancel code. You cannot cancel a decentralized exchange. It's just not possible. Also, the classification of what is and what isn't a security is again a minefield. People are saying, for example, that if XRP loses its case, which we won't know until maybe March next year, then that puts all ERC20s into the category of securities. Well, nothing could be further from the truth, because in this case, this is one judge's opinion, okay? And that could be overruled by another judge. So when people trying to fudge you out about cryptocurrencies saying, well, you know, Library's lost its case and XRP is likely to lose its case, and therefore cryptocurrency is going to be disappearing, that is categorically not true. Because we could get another ruling from another judge which says actually this particular cryptocurrency is not a security. So it's not all cut and dried. Please be very careful about who you listen to on the internet, especially so-called YouTube gurus. You know, those fellas that have got millions of subscribers, been around since 2017, have been paid shills to support their lifestyle and are basically just clickbaiting you into getting more eyeballs onto their channel so they can recommend some other crazy non-entity to get you wrecked. This channel is named DeFi Truth, and that's exactly what I'm giving you right now. And of course, one of the things that you need to be aware of is decentralized finance was designed to take it out of control of the central governments. It is supposed to give you self-custody, and it's supposed to be censorship resistance. Now, talking about censorship resistance, the next catalyst that's going to bring more and more money into DeFi and into Pzen is the introduction of central bank digital currencies. I introduced this in the last video. I've been talking about it for a very long time now, especially in China, where they foisted it onto the population. Being a communist government, they can do that. Now, with centralized central bank digital currencies, it gives another layer of basically total control of the population. For example, in China, if they don't like the way that you have been spending your money, and you haven't been acting in good faith, you haven't been a good communist, they can actually stop you from traveling. They can stop you from buying train tickets. They can stop you from buying plane tickets. And that is just one aspect of control. Another aspect of control is what do you actually spend your money on. Let's say, for example, the government decides that you've been eating too much red meat. They can actually stop you from making a purchase of red meat. It goes so far as that, if we have another lockdown, for example, and they say you can't travel more than half a mile from your house. Let's say you go to a supermarket, which is a mile away from your house, and you try to purchase something. They can just basically geofence your payment with your central bank digital currency, and it won't let you pay for things. The amount of control is totally mind-boggling. However, that is what the scaremongers are telling you about what's happening. Clearly, China is a specialist case. They are a communist government, and they like to have their populations under control. For most of us, we live in a free and democratic society, and it behoves the government to keep it that way. So although they are going to be introducing central bank digital currencies, the framework of those has yet to be set in stone. And one would hope that because we do live in a free and democratic society in the Western world, that the kinds of things that the Chinese have done with their digital currencies won't be accepted into a digital currency created by any Western government. In the United States, for example, it will be issued by the government, and the government has to abide by the Constitution. And the first law of the Constitution is about free speech, freedom of speech. The Fourth Amendment is all about privacy. So those concepts, the Constitution, will have to be enshrined in the framework for any digital currency issued by the American government going forward. Now, the surveillance aspects of it and the control of the populace will also have to be coded into the framework. And that's where you come in, because you can stop that. But even if you can't, what's going to happen is, because the government's going to be pushing this digital currency, and it's already happening, there's 200 projects around the world, and the Biden administration has already said it's one of their primary goals is to launch the digital currency. Why? Because basically China is at the stage where the United States government said they want to be in 2030. So China is way ahead of everybody in leaps and bounds, and they're trying to catch up madly. So one of the things they're going to be doing is educating the public on what digital currencies are. That is fantastic free advertising for all of us in the decentralized finance world, and in particular to Pzen, because people are going to realize exactly what cryptocurrencies are all about, how they can get involved, and then they can really start to understand the opportunities that are available to them in decentralized finance. Now, for those of you who don't understand the concept of Pzen, let me just show you this very, very quick video which explains everything in complete detail.
In these tumultuous economic times, it seems harder and harder to get ahead. Even though you have made all the right financial decisions, it's never enough. The problem is not you, it's the system. You see, the system is designed to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. The only solution is to break free from this system. Today, you can join a new, growing economy and finally get ahead. This economy is built around a socially engineered token called Pzen, which is designed to redistribute wealth. The truth is that there is no scarcity of wealth. We just need a better redistribution system. Pzen harnesses the power of the eighth wonder of the world, compounding interest. Simply buy and hold Pzen in your wallet, and after each transaction made across the network, your token balance goes up. This is thanks to the Pay It Forward deduction, which takes 2% of every transaction and distributes it equitably to all Pzen holders. No one is coming to save you. This is the way out, but you need to do the work. You have to get educated. You have to take a leap of faith. You have to join the new economy to secure your financial future. Take control of your finances with Pzen.
So I think it's clear that Pzen is a fantastic opportunity. The problem is trying to explain that opportunity to the average person in the street. And this is why I'm extremely optimistic on two fronts. With the legislation, the possibility of legislation going forward for centralized exchanges and centralized finance in particular, it will push people to open their minds to what decentralized finance is all about. It gives you a economy which is outside of the control of the governments, and the governments are quite clearly trying to gain more and more control. So with that legislation, bills, possibly coming forward, with the promotion of a central bank digital currency in most Western countries, more and more people are going to realize that there is an alternative economy which is open to them right now. All they have to do is to get educated and take action. Look, the premise and the promise of DeFi, Pzen in particular, is that it is trustless. And what that means is you're not relying on any third party. Look, if you put your money into a bank, for example, right, the moment that that money goes into the bank account, that money is no longer yours. Do you understand that? That money is no longer yours. You might think, well, I'm putting it into a bank. That's like, putting it into a safety deposit box or whatever, and I can go in and take it out at any time. Well, the thing is that in the banking terms and service, that's not what happens at all. As soon as you agree to put your money in a bank account, that money is no longer yours. What happens is the banks now have a debt and they owe you that money. It's not the same thing as it being your money. And of course, now with the further deregulation of what banks can and can't do with your money, they can use your money in any way they want. And if they stuff up and they lose your money, well, guess what? Your money goes bye-bye too, because you are simply a creditor to the bank. This is mind-boggling when you think about it, because we all think that banks are safe. We think that putting our money in the bank is the safest thing to do, especially in this world of turmoil at the moment. And actually, it isn't. It's probably the worst thing that you can do, because you're losing 20% of your value every single year. And let me tell you something, inflation is not going away anytime soon. The Federal Reserve, for example, is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They want to raise interest rates to try and crash the stock market, to try and crash the housing market, and to try and crash the employment market. But it's just not working. And they cannot afford to raise the rates where they really should be, which is probably about 16 to 18%. Why? Because the country owes so much money that it simply couldn't afford to service the debt. It is a mind-boggling mess. And, the whole system is designed for one thing only. It keeps the wealthy more wealthy and the poor more poor. We need a reset tool. You've heard about the Great Reset. Well, Pzen is the Great Reset tool. Why? Because its sole job is to redistribute wealth. It's a network economy. It's a utility token. People are beginning to throw some very interesting projects into the Pzen Telegram group. One of them being the digital economy that lives within Second Life, a 3D metaverse. Go and check that out. You might even be able to fly my helicopter or fly in my helicopter, albeit in the 3D world. It's a fantastic initiative, and it gives utility to Pzen. So I think I've ranted on long enough. This is my coffee morning rant. This shouldn't be a full 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop here. I hope that's given you food for thought. I hope that's given you more optimistic outlook on what is actually going to be happening in DeFi, because if you look at all the mainstream media and even the crypto news and the crypto influencers, it's all doom and gloom. Well, I'm here to tell you it is not, so long as you are invested in the right protocols in decentralized finance. So I'll just say a very quick hello to people who have bothered to join this morning. Steve Mojo, what does he say? Let's see what Steve has said this morning. He said, Zenites are covering both sides of the planet, morning and evening. That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? DR, Doctor, good day to you, sir. BC in the Matrix, I see you're here again, sir. Thank you very much for your support. And I'll say hello to you as well. And of course, I'll say hello to my replay viewers. Now, we are a global movement, and people are tuning in from all over the world, all different time zones. It's early morning from where I am. Well, not early morning now, I suppose it's about 11 o'clock, is it? I'm not quite sure. I've been very busy this morning. I'm off to another luncheon this afternoon where I'll be talking about Pzen to some very wealthy people, trying to give them the idea of what crypto is. I mean, as I said the other day, they haven't even heard of DeFi. They've certainly not heard of the collapse of FTX because they simply don't see the opportunity that is before them. And of course, they're all facing a depreciation in their yield, which is what everybody is actually after. Yield is the most important thing. Because look, yeah, you might get $1 million in the bank one day, through your clever investing techniques, looking at Pzen for the future. And you might think, well, that's enough, I'll retire. Well, unfortunately, $1 million isn't going to do it for you, all right? What you need is to get yield on that $1 million. And of course, Pzen is such an opportunity. I'm Conrad Zen, former Bitcoin Foundation member, and now evangelist for Pzen. Of course, not financial advice. These are my opinions only. Do your own research. But the future is certainly looking very bright. Thank you. Good morning. Good evening. Wherever you are in the world, have a fantastic day. See you on the next broadcast.